This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from January 17th to January 19th of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now I'm sorry, or at least I feel sorry for you and for myself if you had to go through the agonizing pain that was watching the US Men's National Team play on Saturday for Camp Cupcake. But don't worry, there is more because they play on Wednesday against Costa Rica. And obviously we're going to be doing a live watch along for that. We're going to suffer together, me and you. And if you have watched the first game of Camp Cupcake and you will watch the second one on Wednesday, you are a soccer sicko. And if you are a soccer sicko, you're going to want to download FootMob, the FootMob app. The link will be in the description of this video and they are the sponsors of this video. So before we continue, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, FootMob, and make sure to download their big, beautiful app. Link in the description. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Keeping track of all the US men's national team players abroad and MLS prospects is tough. Watching all of their games is quite literally impossible, but there's an app that can help you keep track of your favorite teams and players. Or the players that you hate the most, like myself, that I hate watch for fun. Today we are proud to partner with my favorite soccer app, FootMob, with the link to download it for free in the description of this video. And when you do so, you will be helping the channel and yourself for free. On FootMob, you can follow clubs or players that you'd like, have access to live results, stats among players, leagues, and much more. And you all know by now that FootMob is my go-to app even before we partnered with them. I even use their ratings to push agendas when needed. But as I always say, watch the games. Don't only look at stats. And don't worry, because FootMob also tells you where you can watch the games. So download the app now. The link will be in the description for free. Follow your favorite teams and clubs using our link and you will be supporting the channel in the process. Thank you very much, FootMob. Okay, thank you very much, FootMob. Don't forget to drop a like before we start. And with that said, roll the intro and the episode. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. So let's go to England, and why don't we start with Chris Richards and Matt Turner from Crystal Palace. And on Saturday, Chris Richards started and helped Crystal Palace hold a clean sheet during their 2-0 win over West Ham. Yes, Chris Richards did play the full 90 minutes on a back three. As for Matt Turner, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. And as for you, on Monday, you smashed the like button for this video to support the channel for free. So thank you very much for that. With that said, let's go to the next player, and his name is Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob started and played the full 90 minutes for Fulham as their captain during their 2-0 win over Leicester. A-Rob was fantastic once again. On the defensive end, he was rock solid. On offense, he was heavily involved, got a few good crosses here and there, but unfortunately, he didn't really get a goal contribution for this one. But again, getting a goal contribution or not doesn't mean a player had a good or poor performance. A-Rob was very good once again. I would even argue he had a better performance this weekend than he had over the midweek when he got 2 fraudulent assists. And trust me, I'm not saying fraudulent to downplay his accomplishment. Go watch it, the 2 assists he got over the midweek, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. With that said, let's go to the next Americans that play also in England, and their names are Tyler Adams and Mattia Kimboni from Bournemouth. And on Saturday, Tyler Adams started and played the full 90 minutes for Bournemouth during their 4-1 win over Newcastle. Mattia Kimboni, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. But let's talk about Tyler Adams because he had a very good game. No, seriously, he was incredible. He had a tremendous performance. So he did actually have a few reckless tackles until he finally got a yellow card late in the first half. But outside of that, he was rock solid on defense and very safe and effective on the ball. On top of that, Tyler Adams also got the interception and assist for their 3rd goal late in the game to put the nail in the coffin for this one. The pass for the assist was nothing crazy or nothing special, but it would not have happened without his interception while Bournemouth was pressing. Great positioning from Tyler Adams, great play that led to the 3rd goal. You see, Bournemouth is just a very intense team. They play soccer on crack, and it fits Tyler Adams very well. He's a very intense player, and they've been incredible in the Premier League this season. Okay, now let's go to the country that literally invented pizza, which that automatically qualifies them as a top 10 country of all time. Italy, so we can talk about the Americans in the Serie A. But before we talk about them, I'm gonna ask for the last time in this video for you to drop a like if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us a lot. And for you to drop a random comment in the comment section to rig the YouTube algorithm. So why don't we start with the Americans that play for Milan? Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musah. But Milan and Juventus clashed over the weekend. So we're also gonna be talking about Wes McKennie and Tim Weah. And on Saturday, McKennie started and played the full 90 minutes for Juventus during their 2-0 win over Milan. Okay, so let's talk about the Americans that play for Milan first. Yunus Musah started and played the full 90 minutes on the right wing, kind of like a right winger and right midfielder for them, a similar role to what Pochettino had him playing with the US men's national team last year. And Musah wasn't bad. He set up his teammates a few times, but again, he's not very effective in the final third, and we know that. But definitely not among the worst performers for Milan, even though that's a pretty low bar, because Milan, how can I say it? How can I put it into kind words? They were, what's the word that I'm looking for? Oh, they were shit. I also don't know what Milan was thinking by having Musah and Emerson Royal down the right flank. Little to nothing can really happen in the final third with those two together. Now, Christian Pulisic was not available. I'm assuming he was being rested since the report was that he's not injured and he just has muscle fatigue. With that said, I am expecting him to be available for them on Wednesday when they play in the Champions League. So, how did the Juventus boys do? Wes McKennie and Tim Weah. So McKennie, as I said, he played the full 90 minutes during this win, and he played as a right back, and he was actually quite good. He was great on the ball in possession in multiple occasions, and he did a very good job marking Rafael Leão for most of the game. Even though Rafael Leão also did a good job in screwing up Rafael Leão. He was terrible, but a lot of that was also on Wes McKennie, so credit to McKennie on defense, and on the ball, he was fantastic. McKennie also continues to pretty much play every single position possible, and he shall now be known as the American James Milner. He has quite literally played every single position at this point besides center back and goalkeeper in his career. Now, Tim Weah came off the bench at halftime, and he had a very good performance, helping Juventus get the win. Most notably, he scored their second goal, and it was a beauty, a true beauty, a beautiful goal. He had a great run, followed by him putting Tomori on skates and scoring with his left foot with a great finish. Now, for the sake of the agenda that we push at this channel against the rude Canadians, let's just say that he put a Canadian center back on skates. Yes, Tomori was eligible to play for Canada at some point, so just go with the narrative. Tim Weah torched the Canadian center back. Even though putting an English defender on skates also sounds pretty cool, because we also have an agenda against England in this channel. So I don't know what to do here. I guess he just put the Canadian English center back on skates. I like how that sounds. Still in Italy, we have Gianluca Busio from Venezia. And on Sunday, Busio started and played the full 90 minutes for Venezia during their 1-1 draw with Parma, a team that was named after a type of cheese. Now, once again, Busio looked fine, but Venezia ain't great. And to be fair, neither is Parma. Don't get me wrong, these are still Serie A teams, but they are relegation battle Serie A teams. Now it's time to leave Italy and go to Germany so we can talk about the Americans in the Bundesliga. The first two being Giovanni Reina and Cole Campbell from Borussia Dortmund. And on Friday, Giovanni Reina started off the bench and was subbed in the 88th minute for Dortmund during their 2-0 loss to Eintracht Frankfurt. As for Cole Campbell, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. And I don't really have much to say about Gio Reina's performance. The dude barely played. He was literally subbed in around the 88th minute. Now, it has been reported this past week by some very reliable reporters that Milan are interested in signing Gio Reina, allegedly. However, it seems like Borussia Dortmund wants somewhere between 15 to 18 million euros for Gio Reina. Muppets. That's all I have to say. Freaking Muppets. You're not going to get that. Gio's injury track record is an issue, and it most certainly devalues his market value at the moment. But what Borussia Dortmund has been doing, they literally push his value down themselves. I mean, look, if you don't want to give him minutes, that's fine. But don't demand that kind of money for a player that is injury prone and that you barely utilize. They should be asking for like 8 to 10 million euros for Gio Reina and hold on to a future fee or something, a percentage of future fee. Gio Reina extending his contract with Dortmund till the summer of 2026 was a huge mistake, and now he's dealing with the consequences. And about the Milan interest, which might be real, keep in mind that Conceição, which is Milan's current coach, he has the same agent as Gio Reyna. So there's that. Next on the list, we have Joe Scally from Borussia, not Dortmund. And on Saturday, Joe Scally actually stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Gladbach during their 3-1 loss to Leverkusen. Was Scally actually benched or was he just rested? Honestly, I don't know. Let's see what happens in the next weekend. If he's still on the bench, then yeah, he was likely benched. Next up would have been Kevin Paredes, but the dude is still injured and we don't know when he's going to be back. Leonard Maloney, he has pretty much officially left Heidenheim and he's going to go to Mainz, but he's still figuring out the transfer situation, whether or not he's going to move now in January or just during the summer. So let's skip Maloney, let's skip Paredes and talk about James Sands from St. Pauli. And on Saturday, James Sands started and played 71 minutes for St. Pauli during their 2-0 win over Heidenheim. This was James Sands' first Bundesliga start, which makes sense because he literally just arrived like 10 to 14 days ago. Next on the list, we have Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg. And on Sunday, Noah Kai Banks started off the bench and was subbed in the 65th minute to help Augsburg hold on to a 2-0 lead, which they did. The 18-year-old American center back has gotten 61, 15, and 25 minutes in the Bundesliga over the past 3 games. And honestly, he's looked fairly comfortable. He has not looked out of his depth. So he's most certainly someone to watch and keep track of. And it's actually quite impressive because center backs take much longer to develop. He's only 18. They usually start to get consistent minutes in top 5 leagues when they're 21, 22, but he's looked just fine. He doesn't look like a Bundesliga starter, but he looks like he's more or less at that Bundesliga level at age 18. Last but not least, it would have been John Tolkien from Holstein Kiel. He made the bench for them over the weekend, but he literally just arrived like 2 to 3 days ago, and he's still in MLS preseason form because he was on vacation, so I don't really expect him to get many minutes for the next like 2 to 3 weeks. But John Tolkien did make the bench over the weekend for the very first time with his new club in the Bundesliga, Holstein Kiel. Now let's go to La Liga, and we no longer have Luca De La Torre because he went to Major League Soccer, so we only have one American in La Liga right now, and his name is Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Real Betis during their 3-1 loss to Deportivo Alaves. Now, this was not a good performance from Johnny or Real Betis. They also have lost 3 games in a row. So I'll say this, they've been struggling lately, and that obviously includes Johnny Cardoso as well. Now we're going to go to France and talk about the Americans in Ligue 1. So Balogun is still injured. He's not available. He should be back in March or April. Caleb Wiley, also still injured, not available, should be back in February. But the other 2 did play. Mark McKenzie for Toulouse and Tanner Tessman from Lyon. They actually faced each other over the weekend. So let's talk about it. And on Saturday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 0-0 draw with Lyon. And that's another clean sheet for McKenzie and Toulouse, as they are McKenzie is part of one of the best defenses in France this season. To be more precise, they're actually the 4th best defense based on goals conceded in Ligue 1. Now, Tanner Tessman, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Lyon, and he actually hasn't played a single minute for them over the past 2 games, and this comes after he dropped an absolute stinker against Brest January 11th. Okay, that's it for France. Now let's go to the Netherlands and talk about the Americans that play in the Eredivisie. The first ones being the PSV boys, Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi, and Richie Ledesma. Serginho Dest is still injured, hasn't returned, that's why I didn't mention him. Or actually, I did mention him, but I'm not going to mention him because I already told you he's still injured. You got the point. And on Saturday, Richie Ledesma started as a right back and played 87 minutes for PSV during their 3-1 loss to Zwolle. And this was a bad loss. A terrible loss. Yeah, I mean, losing to Zwolle is terrible, right? Really bad. But don't worry, it gets worse. And yes, it does, because Malik Tillman was not available due to a severe ankle injury, and he's expected to be out for a long time. The exact amount of weeks or months is to be determined, but based on what PSV has reported, it looks like we won't see him back on the field anytime soon. He could even be done for the season. And if that's confirmed and he is pretty much done for the season, I mean, PSV should probably try to get Gio Reyna on the loan. He would probably start for them and ball out in the Eredivisie. PSV would need him, and we most certainly know that Gio Reyna would need PSV. Okay, now back to the game. So Ricardo Pepi came off the bench around minute 64, and he did manage to hit the post once, but he didn't score for this game. The good news here is that ancient Luc de Jong wasted a penalty kick, and this was the 10th penalty kick that he wasted for PSV in his career, which is a club record. So congratulations to Luc de Jong. I do also want to say that Ajax has caught up to PSV. They are now only 1 point behind. On top of that, Malik Tillman is injured, and let's be real, PSV hasn't really been good lately, even when Malik Tillman was available. So what's my point here? They could very well lose the Eredivisie this season, and to be honest, they might actually lose it, which many didn't expect when the season started, especially when you take into account how dominant PSV was last season. With that said, let's talk about the next American that plays in the Eredivisie, and his name is Paxton Aronson from Utrecht. And on Saturday, Paxton Aronson started and played the full 90 minutes for Utrecht during their 0-0 draw with Feyenoord. Also, you may be wondering what happened to Taylor Booth. He's currently seeking a transfer, and we're going to keep you posted on that. Now we're going to go back to England so we can talk about the Americans in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. But before we talk about them, if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to drop a like, help us hit 1,000 likes. And if you want to, make sure to download FootMob. The link will be in the description, and it's free. The first American we're going to talk about in the EFL Championship is Josh Sargent from Norwich. And on Saturday, Sargent started off the bench and was subbed in the 64th minute for Norwich during their 2-0 loss to Sheffield. So Sargent just recently got back from injury, so I would expect him to be a starter for them again within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Next up would have been Haji Wright from Coventry, but he is still dealing with that ankle injury. It was a nasty ankle injury. He's been out for like 2 to 3 months. We don't know when he will be back, but the coach has said that he should be back this month, so I would say the next 10 to 14 days. So let's skip on Haji Wright and talk about Brendan Aronson from Leeds. And on Sunday, Aronson started and was subbed out around minute 90 for Leeds during their 3-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday. But they are now on top of the EFL Championship, but actually not now. They were already on top, and they remain on top of the EFL Championship, and they are on track to play in the English Premier League next season. But we still have 19 games to go. Now, Ethan Horvath, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Cardiff over the weekend, but we are still going to be talking about Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough because he was back from injury. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris was back from injury after nearly 2 months. He started off the bench and was subbed in the 70th minute for Middlesbrough during their 2-1 loss to Portsmouth. Last but not least, still in Great Britain, we're going to go to Scotland so we can talk about the Americans that play for Celtic, and they are Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. And on Saturday, Carter-Vickers and Trusty both started for Celtic during their 2-1 win over Kilmarnock in the Scottish Cup. So Celtic has advanced to the next round. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, and don't worry, this week on Thursday, we will have the US Men's National Team Abroad midweek update for the Americans that are going to be playing in the Champions League and many other continental competitions. With that said, thank you very much FootMob for sponsoring this video. If you want to download FootMob, it's free. The link will be in the description. If you're a soccer sicko, you might as well do so. I want to thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.